when you're talking about the golden age of cinema, you have to go a little gold yourself. Hello there everybody, it's me, the Canadian Weeba, with a review of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It really depends on how you read the poster. Taking place in 1969 Los Angeles, the film follows former cowboy TV star Rick Dalton, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and his stuntman, Cliff Booth, played by Brad Pitt, as they navigate the changing landscape that is Hollywood. Quentin Tarantino never disappoints, always bringing style and substance to his films with homage to the music and cinema that he grew up with. Much like Pulp Fiction, this is not a movie you can sum up with one or two sentences. A bride goes on a revenge quest against those who killed her would-be husband. A band of Jewish Americans plot to kill Hitler. A slave becomes a bounty hunter in the Deep South. Pulp Fiction and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, there's a lot of stuff going on in there. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood gives us great performances from an all-star cast, music that'll get stuck in your ears, eye-catching cinematography, and an interesting interwoven story. It's not as violent as his most recent films. In fact, the violence of the movie is closer to that of Jackie Brown. So if the blood-splattering violence is what you're here for, you may be disappointed. Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt are an amazing duo together. They have the likable buddy chemistry between them. These two characters have known each other for so long, not as just co-workers but as friends. They do everything together. If Rick gets work, then Cliff needs to get work. Cliff probably has the most quotable dialogue in the entire movie. One bit is when they're standing in the parking lot and the valets can see them. The two of them have just met with Rick Dalton's agent, played by Al Pacino, who's told him that he should probably go across to Italy and make spaghetti westerns, because if he keeps making cameo appearances as the bad guy on TV, then he's going to get typecast. But Rick thinks that being in a spaghetti western is the bottom of the entertainment totem pole. Honestly, I don't know if I agree with him on that one. I mean, would you fly away to some other country to make a bunch of movies that nobody back home is going to see? Or would you rather spend the rest of your career doing garbage? Personally, I take the former option. Like I said, nobody back home is going to see it, so you make a film you're not proud of, who's going to see it? Actually, now that I think about it, somebody could do some deep digging. Back on track. Cliff, quotable dialogue. They're standing out there, he's trying to comfort him, and what does he say? Come on, don't cry in front of the Mexicans. One of my favorite lines from the movie also so happens to be in the trailer. Anybody accidentally kills anybody in a fight, they go to jail. It's called manslaughter. Rick wants to get work, but he also wants his stuntman to get work as well. And it's hinted that he killed his wife while they were out vacationing, somewhere on a yacht in the middle of the ocean. The movie doesn't touch on whether it was an accident or not. All we see is the harpoon gun resting on his lap, his finger close to the trigger, but we never see the harpoon gun go off. But it made big enough news that nobody in Hollywood wants to work with him because they think he's a killer. Now they have to scramble around looking for work, trying to get jobs, and hopefully maybe someone will take both of them on. And as Rick gets hippied up to play the bad guy in a B-flick cowboy film, he starts to realize that maybe there's something to be had with spaghetti westerns. But he isn't too sure about the hippie part because, as it makes it clear throughout the movie and even at the end, fucking hippies. Let me move on to the rest of the cast. We got Margot Robbie playing Sharon Tate. And while she wasn't in the movie for a whole lot, I mean, to be fair, this is a story about Rick and Cliff. It's not so much a story about Sharon and Manson. But I liked what both actors in their respective roles brought to the table. I thought they captured the essence of who those people were very well. Although, the guy who played Roman Polanski might want to omit that fact from his resume. Alright, what other movies have you been in? Well, I was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Quentin Tarantino. I played Sharon Tate's husband. Oh really? What was his name? I played Sharon Tate's husband. Yes, but what was his name? I'd really not talk about that. There is no Samuel Jackson here, unfortunately, but we do get Michael Manson making a brief appearance at the beginning where they're showing clips from Bounty Law, the fictional show where Rick Dalton plays a part in. We also, and of course, we can't forget about Luke Perry. This was his final film, and even though he's not in it for very long, it's definitely a respectable role to end a career on. Rest in peace, Luke. On a lighter note, Tarantino really knows how to craft a world for his audience. The music, the lights, and the speeding cars. Whenever you get quick cuts of the sun going down and lights coming up, it feels like Hollywood is coming alive at night. And you got the classic music that is definitely on Tarantino's jukebox. Wait. Oh, what? That's Mr. Tarantino's I still haven't told him about that. And it has a surprisingly relevant message. Aspiring and upstart actors, it's not easy to make a career of. And you will have to make certain choices for which direction your career will go. But you won't know the consequence of that until much later. I don't know if Rick Dalton would be the type of actor that would be a big-name Hollywood star if he was in today's world. Keep in mind, his specialty was TV guest stars and B-movies. Back in the day, a B-movie was something that's part of a double feature. Now, a B-movie is very hard to define these days. B-movie could mean anything from limited release to straight to DVD. I have to be honest, I was not expecting something that thought-provoking in a Quentin Tarantino film. And the ending. Oh, let me tell you about the ending. Two things to clarify. One, the flamethrower that Rick Dalton uses in the Nazi film, he actually got to keep. Second, it is a real, actual, working flamethrower. Now, why is that important? Well, this is where Chekhov's gun comes into play. For those of you who don't know, Chekhov's gun is the theory that everything in a play, or within a movie, is important. For example, if you have a double-barreled shotgun that's resting over the fireplace, that gun must be shot in the next scene or before the end of the play. That's what Quentin Tarantino does, because in this alternate universe, the Manson family doesn't come to kill Sharon Tate. Well, they initially were, but then Rick Dalton gets mad at them, calls them hippies. They recognize them from TV and decide, you know what? We should kill the fascists who taught us violence. Four of them go up, but then the one says, oh, I forgot my knife, then drives away. Smart decision on her part. So it's the three Manson family members, armed with 2 knives and a 6-shooter. They break into Rick's house, and Cliff, who is high as a kite because he bought an acid-laced cigarette from one of the Manson family members earlier that day, he gave one of the family members a ride up to Spawn Ranch. He didn't know that she was a member, though, or that there was this cult living on this ranch. All he knew was that he shot a film there with Rick back in the day. Anyways, he's high as a kite, he sees them come in and is like, huh. They all have a laugh because they think, oh, this idiot's gonna die. And then the dog bites the family member holding the gun right in the... well, one of them comes from the side with a knife, and Cliff just hurls a can of dog food and just smacks her right in the face. Then the other one gets jump on him and gets a good stab on him, but he ends up bashing her head into a glass table until it's nothing but a bloody mess. Then the dog rips the other family member's throat out. The one that get hit with the dog food, I keep saying the one because I forgot what their names were, she crashes through the glass of the back door. Rick gets startled because he's blasting music in his ears in the pool and doesn't see her. And she just flares about looking to kill someone. He gets out, runs to the shed, grabs the flamethrower, and then... in the end, Sharon Tate and her friends never get murdered, and it turns out one of her friends is actually a fan of Rick Dalton and has seen all of his stuff, and so he's invited in for a drink and gets officially introduced to Sharon. The ending is brutal, but it's one of the most darkly hilarious things I've seen this year. You're not exactly cheering at the death of the Mason family, you're not exactly grasping in horror at the brutality that's happening on screen. You just have this weird confusion going, oh man, oh, wow. That being said, I would be lying if I said I didn't want to know a little bit more about the Manson family and Sharon Tate. Seeing Charles Manson sort of go around her home kind of creep them out a little bit more, I wanted that to touch more on the actual story, even if it's just for a minute longer. Sure, alternate history is nothing new with Tarantino, I mean, again, Inglourious Basterds, but the story of World War II and how Hitler died and what really happened is all too well known. I don't think that many people know the whole story of the Manson family unless they've watched Mindhunter or if they actually listen to podcasts about serial killers, which I think is a smaller amount of people than those who know what happened in World War II. And the movie can get a bit dialogue heavy for my taste, and they even have scenes that I felt would have been better off cut out the movie. This one part where Sharon Tate goes to see the premiere of a movie, and a lot of the times it's just her sort of just sitting there reacting to the people who are watching her movie. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood may not be the best Quentin Tarantino film, but it is one of the best movies of 2019. It's a bit of a bummer coming out of it knowing that his next film will be his last, providing that he keeps to his original purpose of only directing 10 films. But then again, should he direct Kill Bill 3, then he technically has room for one more. Because he said that Kill Bill is one long movie, so if they make a third one, he technically has one more in the can. I thought it was a very enjoyable film and a nice counter to all the Disney MCU stuff we got this summer. Tarantino brings his vision of 1960s Los Angeles with vibrance, vigor, and a little vulgarity. The runtime may test your patience, but the ending makes it well worth your while. There were a few little things that kept me from being blown away, but it does deserve to be seen multiple times at the theater or on Blu-ray. Well, I guess all there is for me to say is, I gotta get myself a Big Kahuna burger.